Business Roundtable. From the Colorado Business Roundtable studios in Denver, you're listening to the voice of the Colorado Business Roundtable, focusing on issues around business, policy, and education with leaders across local, national, and international communities, making a difference and driving business success. This is Connect and Collaborate on KDMT, Denver's Money Talk, 1690 AM.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Connect and Collaborate, where we come together each day to introduce you to our network of business and community leaders and to discuss issues that impact business. This week, our focus is on Denver's build-up. We're taking a look at the developments, construction projects, the partnerships that are contributing to our growing metro area. And today we are connecting with Sean Campbell. He is the founder and CEO of Formativ, working on the plans and everything surrounding the new World Trade Center Denver campus. Sean, thanks so much for joining us on the show today.
Well, Tammy, thanks so much for having me. It's an exciting time to be in Denver, and it's exciting to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, because it's just great to be able to maybe help people wrap their heads around what's coming, because it's going to be a huge project.
It is. I mean, I think it's a project at the right time for the right city with our growth, but certainly the economic impact and what we think the World Trade Center, the new World Trade Center, can do for not only Denver but Colorado and the Rocky Mountain region is exceptional. And I think that our city is growing, as we all know, and there's some really great things happening both locally, nationally, and internationally here. And part of the whole concept around this is to build this global business ecosystem that everybody from startups and mid-sized to large company and multinationals can all use.
It's an incredible undertaking and years planning it so far. And then are we planning to break ground early next year?
We are, yeah. We should be on track to start site work in March and break ground in April. And that will be on phase one, and we're awful excited about that. But there's a lot of work between now and then that needs to get done.
So, Sean, tell us a little bit about Formativ and your beginnings before we talk about everything of the World Trade Center campus that we're looking forward to.
Sure. Formativ is really a business development and real estate development firm in one. Myself and my partners, Josh Marinos, and our team have been working on the World Trade Center, like you said, for the last couple of years. Prior to that, we did Industry Denver, which is a co-working space on Brighton Boulevard in Rhino. And then prior to that, we've worked on other projects. But our team itself focuses really on these transformative urban placemaking projects that have real world sort of economic development and impact first, and then have a place to live to have all that functionality sort of second. My background is, as I said earlier, we were talking prior to the program, I'm a recovering banker from New York and spent 13 years in New York City in financial institutions doing trading and investment banking.
Wow.
And we've been here for about 7 years full time, and absolutely love Denver and Colorado and everything that it has to offer.
Well, and part of the project behind the World Trade Center Denver campus is to really place Denver up as a global city. And why is that important now?
Well, you look at all the things that are happening around the state, and not only are we continuing to grow just in terms of population, but grow in terms of opportunity. There's great companies that are being started here. There's great companies that have been here continuing to grow. We're attracting new companies. All of the, talk about these other tech companies that are looking to relocate or open new offices here in Colorado. And I think it's time that it's nice that we're all competing, for millennials and startups and jobs and great business lifestyle, and we're number one or two every other week in a lot of these publications. But I don't necessarily want to just compete with Austin and Nashville and Portland.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to compete with Singapore and Dubai and London and those sorts of folks. Colorado, and especially Denver, has an amazing assets, sort of what I call, the natural resources, which people think about the mountains and the streams and the outdoor rec. I think about our business natural resources being pretty robust, and I think it's the right time to raise the flag globally for the city and the state and the region.
And when we think of where World Trade Center Denver campus is being built at the River North area, we're calling it Rhino, and that's kind of a blank slate. You can create what you need to out of Denver in that area, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that you look at Denver as it starts to grow as a urban city downtown, and it was only natural progression that it would start to migrate north into that warehouse district, traditionally 5 Points and Elaria, Swansea, and Globeville and Cole neighborhoods. But it's given us more of, as you said, sort of that that footprint for which us to get more density and grow as a downtown community. And a lot of that is some of it's creating from scratch, and others of them are placemaking. When we did industry 4 years ago, when we started that project, there wasn't a whole lot on Brighton Boulevard.
Right.
Now it seems like it was just add water, and you have all these great projects from the Source and Catalyst and Westfield's project, and not to mention the National Western Stock Show and all the things that are going to happen at the National Western Center. So I think it's just an unbelievable time that we're seeing over the last 5 or 6 years here in Denver. Yes,
when you picture that, what it will look like with downtown Denver, and then moving into Rhino, and then where the National Western Center is going to be, it's going to be like a huge swath of beautiful development and useful areas.
I think that's part of the challenge of any growing city is thoughtful development and affordability and mobility, and those are all some of the challenges that, from the mayor's office to our local leadership and others, that we're all concerned about. But we're also trying to be, thoughtful and strategic on how we grow smartly, because we are having 1,000 people here move to the metro region a week. We are having 9,000 people move to the state a month. I mean, these are real figures, and so as we start to grow, we have to do it in a thoughtful way and learn from others, both, the right things to do and some of the pitfalls and mistakes, and create our own path. But that's kind of the exciting part about it.
Right, because you kind of think that we can't handle all these people coming here right now, so it's making the room for them, creating the space.
It is, and I think that, the folks before us that have, sort of the city leaders and fast tracks and DIA, you look at, again, going back to our business natural resources, these are key stepping stones for this city to start to grow.
Well, it's going to be very exciting to see what comes next. We're talking with Sean Campbell, founder and CEO of Formativ, developing the World Trade Center Denver campus, and we're going to spend the rest of the hour talking about what's coming in there. Stay with us. Thanks so much for staying with us today on Connect and Collaborate. We're talking all week about the build-up in Denver. There's so many great projects going on, projects, partnerships, construction, and today we're focusing on the new World Trade Center Denver campus. Sean Campbell, thank you so much for coming and laying this out for us. Sean is the founder and CEO of Formativ, which is handling World Trade Center Denver project. And let's talk a little bit about the World Trade Center as an organization. What is it we're building and to support what at this point?
Well, the World Trade Center organization itself is a great organization. It is the largest nonprofit trade association in the world. And what that really means to you and I is that they have 1.6 million member companies. Everybody from GE and Ford and Facebook and Google to Alibaba and SAP and Tammy and Sean's import-export business. They're in 330 different cities in 100 different countries around the globe. And we all know New York. New York is the HQ, and it was started over 50 years ago by David Rockefeller and some businessmen in New York before we had offices of economic development and trade for cities and states. They created this organization to sit next to the UN to promote companies like Standard Oil and Ford Motor Car and GE to the globe, and then also tell the rest of the world that New York and the rest of the country is open for business. And so you fast forward, and we all know what happened on 9/11, but the organization is doubled in size since 9/11. We've got about 57 locations here in North America and growing. And this year, 2017, is the 30th anniversary of our founding here in Denver.
Right, 30 years of a World Trade Center Denver. So, and considering that the original World Trade Center began 50 years ago, Denver's pretty on top of it.
It is, and it was started here by, our sort of founding fathers, Tom Clark, and some leadership at the Chamber, as well as MSU and the university. They applied for the license and have gotten the Rocky Mountain Region license, and that's in perpetuity as this nonprofit starts to grow. And the organization here has great member companies like Leprino and Aero and Western Union, and again, from all different size companies here, and it really plays to its strengths here in the region through education and trade services, consulting, high touch and low touch consulting for companies, and then convening, a huge convening piece where they do lots of international trade conferences and business conferences around industries that are here and prominent in the state.
So now, let's kind of go back a little bit, because you said World Trade Center Denver's been here for 30 years, coming up on the anniversary there, and it was obviously in a different location. They've got temporary digs right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was originally downtown, those two black buildings at the end of 16th Street and Broadway, and they were there for 25 plus years.
Wow.
And so the leadership, Karen Gerwitz, who's the CEO of World Trade Denver, and her organization started to think a couple years ago, we need to start to evolve. As we say, trade 40, 50 years ago is very different than it is today.
Yeah.
It was about moving goods across borders, so cars and minerals and hard goods across borders. If you think about trade today, it's cloud-based computing, it's enterprise software, it's consulting-based businesses.
Services in a way.
Services, yeah. but also we're in a gig economy.
Right.
So that's made the business world very flat. And because of that, it's become more efficient and seamless. So when you're jumping across borders, if you're an engineer or in a financial institution, or you've got a new technology, or you've got, internet-based systems, that is all trade as well. And so as we start to think about what does trade mean in the 21st century or going forward, Karen and her team were smart enough to understand that and start to think differently. Do we want to be in the CBD of Denver? Do we want to be in these old sort of traditional towers? There's nothing wrong with them, but to think creatively and be more innovative, they started to think outside the box. So a couple years ago, they put together sort of their wish list and what they wanted to do as an organization here in the region, and they put an RFP out to a bunch of different developers and folks like ourselves to respond on what's next for the World Trade Center. And our group at Formativ responded with a proposal that says, think of this as a global business ecosystem. How do we create and wave the flag for Colorado and Denver the best we can? And let's create that sort of organism and that living ecosystem first, and then we'll worry about the actual real estate or the sticks and bricks and what that's going to look like second. And so we ended up winning the project in February of 2016, and we've been hard at work with Karen and her team. And Oz Architecture is our design team, and we've got J.E. Dunn brought on as our development team. So we've got sort of the A team surrounded on this project and working closely with the city and the state and the chamber as we move forward.
So when you think of that vision, it's very intentional that it's going to be located in the River North area, where, as we said, it's kind of, there's a good blank slate there to create what you need and be that innovative center.
So that's exactly right. What we wanted to do first was think about all the functionality that we wanted to happen inside the walls and on the campus. But then it was also incredibly important to be on the light rail station and be connected to DIA and be connected to downtown. And that was very purposeful about how we picked that site at 38th and Blake. That A line, which is, we all know, the plane or the train to the plane, is one stop out of Union Station and a few stops from DIA. We're 30 minutes from DIA and we're 3 minutes from downtown. That gives the businessman that's working for Panasonic that flies the direct flight from Tokyo into DIA, catches the train, gets out at Arsene, walks across the street onto this campus, checks into the hotel, goes to the conference center that evening, and then has dinner with clients and colleagues, all in one fell swoop. The idea that it was very purposeful put there, but it also gave us the opportunity to build a campus. So we weren't limited by the density downtown, because clearly it would have been cost prohibitive and very difficult to start eating up, blocks and blocks.
Sure.
So for us, we think not only the innovation piece of it, the ability to have a little bit of a blank slate, and then that multi-mobility piece by being on the rail line was huge.
Right, and that's one of the other things, that transit-oriented development there, and then that's going to make not only, and I'm supposing here, not only the World Trade Center Denver campus, but more housing, for maybe affordable housing that's close to the transit and everything that those neighborhoods need.
That's absolutely right, Tammy.
Hopefully.
We've got, at that TOD site at 38th and Blake, there's several different developments that are happening at the same time. And as we said earlier about thoughtful sort of urban development as we grow as a community and as a city, that's a great microcosm for what's happening in the city. We've got purposeful, for-profit, but, private enterprise. You've got great companies like Home Advisors moving their HQ to that location at the Hub project. You've got ULC, an affordable housing project going right in there for workforce housing. There, of course, there's the World Trade Center project and our office and hotel and business conference center piece. And then you've got other great projects that are happening around it, both on the residential side and a commercial side. There's a $500 million worth of development happening right now in a couple block radius, and that's continuing to grow even more so on Brighton Boulevard as you move from downtown towards the National Western Center.
Yeah. So you already talked some of the features, like that ability to have, a global business campus, really, where people can come in from DIA, take the light rail or A line, straight to what will be the World Trade Center, where there'll be hotels. So talk more about those features.
So when we started this, we really wanted to go through a gap analysis here in the state and talk with business leaders, and both on the public and private side as well as higher ed, to say what's working in your organization and what's going really well on a global and a national side. What's going okay, but we need to be doing better, and what aren't we doing at all? And so coming out of those conversations on the business front and on the international front was, what does this World Trade Center and global ecosystem look like going forward? And out of those conversations became the sort of description of the design of phase one, which is, an office tower filled with amenities and indoor and outdoor space, and sort of this premise of what does the office of the future look like. In addition to that, a state-of-the-art business conference center with indoor and outdoor facilities, because we do live in Colorado, and not everyone wants to go to a conference in a basement in downtown Denver. No offense to some of those locations, but we've all been there.
Right.
And then ideally...
look at our beautiful mountains and the blue skies. Where?
Right. And then we have a great international national business hotel attached to the facility, so we can convene people and have this sort of intersection between innovation, opportunity, capital, and talent. And I think that's really what the crux of this whole complex is. It's building a global ecosystem, a global sandbox, if you will, that everybody can use. It's lowering some of the silos, natural silos that we have in our business world, both public and private, and giving the ability to have a more frictionless work environment. And so all of the designs have thoughtfully thought through how we create this business lifestyle, this social engineering, so people have a more efficient and productive place to work.
And as you describe it, I'm looking at, you brought a video of the fly through of the rendered model, and you can look at that at cobrt.com /radio, no, /live, cobrt.com/live. You can kind of check out what that's going to look like, and it's going to be just this beautiful facility that has all of the accommodations to build that ecosystem, that business ecosystem.
Yeah, what we looked at is, as we walked through the different elements, being in a business environment like that, it's important to get the right mix of amenities and opportunities.
We'll be back with more with Sean Campbell talking about World Trade Center Denver. Stay with us. Thanks for sticking with us today on Connect and Collaborate. We are focusing this week on Denver's build-up, those projects, construction projects, the partnerships that are making Denver a bigger, better place. And we're talking with Sean Campbell of Formativ. They're working on the World Trade Center Denver project. And we mentioned kind of discussing the ecosystem of what this World Trade Center Denver campus is going to be like.
Well, I think, Tammy, that's the most important thing that we're creating here, because ideally this living organism, this business ecosystem that we're creating is going to last a whole lot longer and be around a whole lot longer than we will be. And so the idea around this is, what does a global business ecosystem look like? Any healthy ecosystem, if you look, there's sort of four legs of the stool that it stands on. It's access and attraction and retention of talent. It's access to capital from early stage and growth stage and VC to traditional sources. It's access to existing markets and new markets. And then it's also the ease of doing business and leadership, both on the public and the private side in that environment. We've got many of those here in the state and in the region, but we want to sort of aggregate them here on this campus. In addition to that, you're talking about incubators and accelerators. If you ask the chamber, we have about 9 leading industries in the state, whether it's clean tech or energy or healthcare and those sorts of industries, traditional ones. But Denver, more than it's been in its entire history, has a really balanced economy. Mm-hmm. This isn't 1983 where we're overweighted in energy and dips in the market have huge repercussions here in the city. We have a very robust, growing economy, and that's diverse and healthy. So it insulates us from sort of market trends. But what we're doing here with the World Trade Center is taking all of the great things that is happening in the state and the region and helping to aggregate them into one sort of location that can be more efficient, productive. As I said earlier, it's that intersection between opportunity, innovation, and capital. And so this is the spark. This is what we're trying to create. The idea is that we're not going to try and replicate what other people are doing. This is an open source global ecosystem. This sandbox that we've been talking about is for everybody to use. So the idea is, as a state and as a region and as a metro region, how do we break down some of these silos and have a more efficient and productive and quite honestly attractive business economy for companies to do business in, soft landings for companies from out of state, from out of the country. Say, why not Denver? I mean, what's amazing is that all the same articles that you and I are reading, whether it's the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or Inc. magazine or Entrepreneurial Fast Company, it's the same articles that they're reading on our trips to Dubai or to Munich or to London. Those folks are reading all of the same ones, and they know what New York is. They know what the Valley is. They've been to Chicago. But many of them don't know, why am I hearing about Denver all the time? And it's because of these great things that are happening in the state. It's because of DIA. It's because of Anschutz. It's because of the ag innovation that's happening at CSU. It's because of the thought leadership going behind National Western. It's folks like Tammy Dorr in the Downtown Denver Partnership and Kim Day out at the airport and Kelly Bruff, what she's doing at EDC and the Chamber. I mean, the idea here is we've got great leadership. We've got this incredibly robust business ecosystem. And it's the right time to raise the global flag. So really, I kind of look at our team and Karen says, we're just professional cat herders. We're trying to get the best and brightest onto this campus so they can have this opportunity to sort of wave this global flag. Why not Denver? And I think it's the right time to have that conversation.
It really is. There's so much going on here where I think Denver has been for a long time a great place for startup companies, for entrepreneurs to grow business. And I think the business growth is what's really taking off now. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're looking at great companies, that we've had traditionally here for a long time, like Aero and Leprino and, Western Union and others. But you're also seeing new companies come in to our ecosystem and ones that are starting to grow. I mean, let's look. If you and I are in our late 20s, early 30s, and we're making $300,000 a year, and we're working as engineers for Google in the Valley, and we can't even afford to buy something in downtown San Francisco. So we're living in a group house in Oakland and taking the Google bus to work every day. That's going to be fine when you're in your early 20s. When you start to get older, that gets old.
Real quick.
And so Denver's going to be 60 cents on the dollar for the foreseeable future to New York and the Valley. So as that starts to happen, it gets very attractive to say, hey, I am going to transfer from Google, HQ to Boulder or to Denver or to this region. And I think that conversation is happening over and over again. Whether Amazon comes here or not, or Facebook or others, they're going to start coming here because of the business lifestyle that we've been talking about, the ease of doing business. What's amazing here in the state is this, sort of, I think of our secret sauce, is this collaborative nature that we have.
Right.
If Tammy has a great idea and Sean has the same idea, but we're not working together, in New York we'd be competitors. In DC we'd be competitors. Here we would come together and people would rally around us and say, that's a great idea. You two should get together and let's all get this done. So I think there's a meritocracy here that's really important that we don't, that differentiates us to other communities. And so our ecosystem on the campus is talking about networking. It's talking about mentorship. It's incubating great ideas. It's having these young companies, existing companies, and multinationals as they start new divisions, access to capital. I mean, the big thing that you saw with Liberty Global moving downtown to the Triangle building was a lot about retention and attraction of quality talent. And so as great companies start to move into the urban core and they want Rhino and they want something hip and cool, this isn't your grandfather's World Trade Center.
No.
This is going to embrace all the great things about Colorado and then elevate our local community as well as our international flag.
And that's a great perspective there. It's not your grandfather's World Trade Center. And as I mentioned, we're looking at kind of a video rendering of what the campus is going to look like. And we know that's not the best for radio, but I was thinking, Sean, maybe you could give us the tour as you and I are looking at it.
Sure, absolutely. So through our conversations, what we've designed here is there's two main buildings. One is this sort of state-of-the-art 250,000 square feet office of the future. The first 4 floors are going to be dedicated to smaller users with higher touch. So think of your international nonprofits, your consular core, the World Trade Center organization, financial institutions, and then the upper floors are sort of our version of what the office of the future looks like. Indoor and outdoor space. We have a rooftop business club and a rooftop restaurant on the office component. We've got some really great announcements on those two partners. And then across the plaza is this state-of-the-art business conference center and learning center, 40,000 square feet of indoor and outdoor space that opens onto this garden deck, or what we've been calling the Sky Garden. So you can have meetings, you can meet people and convene both indoor and outdoor, because we do live in Colorado.
Right.
Sitting on top of that is a 225-room National Business Points hotel that will be serving the entire ecosystem, and that is all wrapped with great restaurants and great amenities in the plaza. I mean,
so it sounds like a place that will be busy day and night then.
It's absolutely designed to be busy day and night, weekday, weekend. The idea is it's also supposed to be a community spot. So we'll have a large amount of public art, both international and local.
Nice.
We are in the Rhino community, so we have available space for festivals and speaker series and events. This will be a gathering place for thought leadership and business opportunities, but as well as recreation. And then because of our location in Rhino and being on the light rail station. We think that it will be attractive to, the leisure traveler and folks that want to come in and go to a brewery, see a show, go to Red Rocks, stay there, in addition to the international business traffic that will be attracting there for obvious reasons.
Wow, and it looks fantastic from the video rendering we're looking at. Sorry, radio listeners, you don't see that, but check it out at cobrt.com/live. And we will be back with more. We're talking with Sean Campbell from Formativ and the World Trade Center Denver campus. We're going to wrap up here in the next one talking about the innovation corridor that's going down in the same area. Continue our conversation. We've been talking all week about Denver's build-up, and I just want to emphasize that we're talking about these projects and partnerships that are really contributing to a growing metro area and to make Denver a global city. So we're talking with Sean Campbell. He's with Formativ, founder and CEO of Formativ, working on the World Trade Center Denver development. And there's more to it than just the World Trade Center Denver. As we talked with Eric Drummond yesterday, this is a complete economic development project and bringing the innovation corridor to the same space.
Yeah, I mean, that's where we started first. Is like, how do we create this mechanism or this place to be really an economic or business economic generator for the city and the region? I mean, Governor Hickenlooper and his team and the folks out of OEDIT and Stephanie Copeland, as well as Mayor Hancock and the great leadership out of OED, we're all concentrating on, this economic development, this new technology and innovation, and how do we marry that with talent and capital. And so we're coming at building out this global ecosystem from that lens, that economic development lens. And part of that is creating these great relationships and partnerships with folks. So as we said earlier, talking about our natural sort of resources in our backyard, it's these P3 relationships. It's the great work that's happening in higher ed. It's our national research centers. We have over 30 national research centers in our backyard. Great institutions like NREL and UCAR and NCAR and NOAA and NIST and NASA, and the list goes on.
Yes.
There's great efforts with Cybersecurity Center going on down in the Springs, and battery and ag innovation happening in Fort Collins, and healthcare innovation on Anschutz. So how do we aggregate that? And that's part of this innovation corridor. The idea is that we have these great research institutes that are just, 30 minutes from where you and I are sitting right now.
Exactly.
And so tapping into that, Eric and our team have been working closely with NREL and UCAR and NCAR to build what we're calling this innovation corridor. And what that really is the ability to create market opportunity, not only for the labs and U.S. government and technologies that are born out of the labs, but also get that in the hands of private industry to commercialize, as well as entrepreneurs, and to commercialize for them, not only B2B, but B2C. And so the corridor's idea is, again, it's a business economic development tool. And the idea is taking, what we said earlier, which is this opportunity and innovation and technology, and marrying it with great talent and capital. And so what we've been building around that is sort of the best practices. How, as you as an entrepreneur can, beta test technologies at NREL on that campus? How can you sort of partner as a large organization like an Aero or an Intel on either solar technologies or battery or renewables and other elements? And how do you commercialize that? And how do we monetize some of our great research institutes so they can be more self-sustaining and they're not always looking for Washington for dollars? But in addition to that, how do we grow our opportunities here, and how do we born these new companies as Colorado companies?
So it's this great opportunity and location and center to connect all of those industries together.
It is. What we've done is we've created a partnership with NREL on this innovation corridor to help them create this sort of pipeline of opportunity, as I said, through innovation and license and tech transfer, as well as a real incredible resource for people to go onto that campus and use those facilities and those great engineers to create technologies of their own, beta test technologies that they have, and sort of a real world experience. I mean, those assets are second to none. We think that relationship and relationships like that can be billions of dollars of economic impact to the state. And what does it look like when you've got, the sovereign nation of Dubai and all their desalinization projects happening there, partnering with some of our great labs here for some of the innovation and creating opportunity and commercialization for some of these. The economic impact is really extraordinary when you start to think about it. And then you marry that with higher ed and some of the talent and the research universities that we have in the state and how they can be incorporated into this corridor. The idea is to create this business architecture so it has opportunities from early stage, growth stage, and then large co and multinational, all to sort of seamlessly enter through. How do we make a more efficient marketplace? How do we get speed to market? What are the pain points in capital and talent that we can start to solve? And so part of that is, again, going back to the World Trade Center at its basis is this economic development driver with a global lens. And part of that is that we've got great companies here in the state, and a lot of them starting to be born Colorado in our entrepreneurial community here as it starts to grow. As those technologies or platforms or widgets start to be scaled, we wanted them to have a healthy ecosystem for them to grow, and one that we think that can be more efficient.
We're talking today with Sean Campbell, founder and CEO of Formativ, which is the company working on the World Trade Center Denver campus. So we've talked a lot about the innovation corridor that's going there, and just how integral to the economy and business, and how all of it kind of jives together to make everything happen as at making Denver a global city. Let's talk a little bit about the time frame here as we're going to wrap up. I know you're creating partnerships right now. You're developing the plans for the buildings and so forth. What happens next?
Well, as I said, we've started on this journey, a couple years ago, but really in earnest since early 2016.
Okay.
The office point, we're really excited to announce some of our new tenants. We have about 40%, 43 odd percent of the building pre-leased, and we'll continue that charge through the end of the year. We have a short list of hotel flags that we're getting ready to choose from, and we expect to make a decision on our hotel partner here in the next 30 to 45 days.
Oh.
And the timeline between...
You can't tell us who's in the running?
Well, I think that you can probably, guess a few of the names. But before the holidays, we'll have an announcement for that.
Really?
We've got some great announcements on our tenant side. Global companies, real great local players as well as international players, both financial and real estate and some of the service-based industries. And then really exciting, we've got some, world-class restaurant folks to announce, and some of the other amenities that we're getting ready to announce between now and the end of the year. At the first quarter of the year, we'll sort of do final planning, working with our city partners and our building and construction friends, and we look to break ground, mid-spring or late first quarter of next year, and then we'll have
April,
a 24.
May, June, something like that. Or?
Yeah, we're looking to break ground in April is what the schedule is currently, and knock on wood, we'll stay on schedule. And the idea is we'll have a 24-month build, give or take, and we'll start to deliver space in late 2019, and the entire project, both the office and the hospitality piece, will be completed by 2020.
By 2020. And that's phase 1. So there's more to come.
There is more to come. We have a phase 2 and a phase 3, all at 38th and Blake Street, and those are focused on momentum plays for additional office. What we're trying to build here is the heartbeat, if you will, of the entire campus and ecosystem, and then we'll build additional office and amenities around that.
So you can check out the plans. We're enjoying watching the video render here in studio. Sorry to our radio listeners, you can't see that. Go to WTCDenverDevelopment.com. Is that correct?
That's right. Our website for the project is WTCDenverDevelopment.com. And then World Trade Center organization itself is WTCDenver.org. And then, of course, you can find more information about Formativ at Formativ without an E, CO.com. But yeah, we're incredibly excited. And Tammy, it's been a pleasure being with you and your team here today to talk all the exciting things that are happening in Denver.
We're so happy to have you here, and I really appreciate you laying out everything that we can expect. And I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to just check out the restaurants.
I know. Well, we're going to be right around the corner here from you and Rhino. And, there's a lot of exciting things happening around us, not just the World Trade Center project, but just in general here in Denver. And we're just excited to be a part of it.
What, if I may ask, with about a minute left in the show here, what are you most excited about when you see all of this coming together?
Well,
you personally.
I think for us, it's this, again, it's going back for opportunity. It's matching up, what I think are these healthy ecosystems, with talent and innovation and, mentorship. It's seeing the functionality that we're trying to foster actually come to fruition. So it's really about the people. I mean, great people and great ideas mixing together, and you sprinkle a little capital and opportunity next to them, and it's exciting to see, companies, that have been in our building start to grow and launch, and it's and even our city.
Thank you so much.
It's pretty special.
Thanks, Sean. Sean Campbell, founder and CEO of Formativ, working on the World Trade Center Denver campus, and we want everybody to check that out and be excited about it.